All right. Hi, welcome to the Reach the Lost podcast. We're so excited to bring church experts and communicators and pastors' insights to churches across the world. And we have Mike Ruman with us today. Mike is a certified Storybrand guide who's led marketing teams for Focus on the Family, Zondervan, and David C. Cook. He left the corporate world to start a marketing agency about 10 years ago, and now he's done marketing for dozens and even hundreds of churches and nonprofits. And we're here today to talk specifically about church websites. So Mike, tell me a little bit about how you got started in the church website world.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I'm from the beautiful city of Detroit, and I come from a long line of blue collar workers. And my dad's an HVAC. And when I was a junior in high school, my dad would say, if I can just do this on my own, I can make a lot more money. And I was a junior in high school. I had accounting. I said, hey, Dad, I think I can do the books and I'll run the business and you can do the work and we can start a business together. And so that's when we started his HVAC company. And I just kind of learned about this MYOB, mind your own business software, and just started. I was 25 years ago, 22 years ago. That kind of got me the entrepreneurship bug. And today he's 71 and still running his HVAC company in Detroit. Wow. And yeah, from then I just always started making websites, had these ideas. I saw how you can build something from nothing and got that entrepreneurship bug. And just ever since then, been building websites, doing marketing for businesses, churches, nonprofits, and it's been fun.
Cool. Yeah. Well, what got you interested in doing, I know you love to do church websites specifically. So what got you interested in that?
So I spent 10 years in Christian publishing. And so we would work with a lot of authors were pastors or churches. And those are my people. Like I love working on something bigger than just working on something bigger than just how to make money books or fiction books, but like eternal impact. And so when I jumped, I spent 3 years at Zondervan Publishers, 7 years at David C. Cook, then a year at Focus on the Family. And when I jumped, I kind of went to who I knew. Like I knew authors, I knew churches, I knew nonprofits, and those are my people. Like I love working with them. Sometimes they can be a little bit harder to work with sometimes because not saying all, but sometimes things just don't move as fast. Yep. Versus like a small business where it's a mom and pop store this has to work today or we're going to shut the doors. But I love the mission. I love the environment. I love the people we're helping. And those are my people.
Oh, that's awesome. I first met Mike a few years ago doing the new church website for the church that I attend. And so then it was fun a few years ago to end up connected again. So I feel like a lot of churches have this big question of who is the church website really for? Like, is it for the existing congregation? Is it their engagement point with the church? Or is it really about the prospective visitor and pulling in that first-time guest? How do you think about who the target audience for a church website is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So about 4 years ago, this trend started going from, it used to be like the internal, like go to the church website for the event calendar, sign up for a small group, volunteer on the church website. So it's probably 4 or 5 years ago, this trend of like the serving the people who already come here was not the purpose. And so we started seeing people changing their websites to really reach first-time guests. And, it's 2023. I feel like it's almost like a no-brainer. Like your homepage should talk to first-time guests. If it doesn't, change that today. Just change your homepage to speak to who you want to come. And then what I've seen really well with churches is training your congregation to either use your app. Like a lot of my churches use Subsplash or a different app, or they train their congregation to use a different part of the website and really make that homepage to attract first-time guests.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about like, what does it look like? You talk about the homepage being geared towards a first-time guest. Can you walk us through, like, how do you think about that homepage? What are elements that you'd want on there?
Sure. What we want to do is really, this is where Storybrand comes in. Like, this is not about you. This isn't even not about your pastor, but it's about what you can do for the person who's coming. and even like reach the lost. Like our mission as believers is to reach the lost, bring them to Jesus. And even like yesterday there was a school shooting in Nashville. There's protests in Israel. Like the world needs Jesus. And so we want to get them to your church. And a lot of times that the church website is that front door.
Yeah.
And so we really want to hit them with what's in it for them. Why come to this church? And for me, that really starts with like an amazing headline. Mm. And if you haven't been through Storybrand, go to YouTube, watch Donald Miller's stuff. But leading with a solid headline that just attracts people. Like what's in it for me? Mm. You see a lot of like welcome home as like the headline on a lot of churches. One of my favorite headlines for a church, and it was written by a Storybrand guide. I forget the church, maybe I'll have to hunt it down, but the headline was a place where people look, act, and struggle like you. I'm like, that spoke to me. Like, I love that. Like, I will even like the church, you go to, real messy new. Like, that's the tagline. Like, that's what people want is like, hey, I don't have this thing figured out. It's like, cool. Like, we don't either. Like, come join, come be a part of this. Do you want me to walk through more pieces of the homepage?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Think about kind of what's your basic framework for a homepage.
So definitely spend time on that headline. And even like, you don't have to have it all figured out. What I like to do is write what you want, like the people look, act, struggle like you. Take that to an AI tool and have that spin up a couple ideas. That's where you can use the power of AI. Like just put what you want it to like one of our churches is a place where you belong. I don't think that was the initial one, but like taking that to an AI, like using that tool to spit out a couple different versions. But even if you have no budget, get a video header background.
Oh, okay.
Those are huge. And in that video header background, because what people who aren't familiar with your church, what they want to know is, what do people look like? What's the style? I've been to a church where I was the only person wearing jeans, and it is so uncomfortable. Yeah. Even with some of our churches, we started panning out the live stream to show people in the congregation, to show like, hey, people wear button-up shirts here. But have a video header background that shows the people that come to your church, the worship band. Is there a drum set? Because not everybody wants a drum set. Yep. Is it more of a rockin' worship band, or is it more organ? Because in the startup space, the riches are in the niches. Like, that's cool. If your church is organ, like there's people who are looking for that. But in that background header video, show the pastor preaching, show diversity, show the kids program, show men's group, women's groups meeting together, and keep that to about 20 seconds, 20, 30 seconds tops, and just have that loop over and over.
That's awesome. I actually was just on the phone with a church the other day, a new partner of ours that we were getting on board, and they had done a header video, and he'd said, feels like everybody's doing that now. That just seems ubiquitous. Is that still best practice? So you still think that's the most helpful way to kind of display, here's who we are, what we look like, you can fit in here, here's what to expect.
Yeah, it'll help your bounce rate too. So churches are complex. Like, we have all the things. We have women's groups, we have, especially bigger churches. How do you tell that story in 20 seconds? You do that through a 20-second video that just, maybe it's 3 seconds of this, 5 seconds of that, but that is kind of like really like your business card.
Yeah.
And then like Easter's coming up, update it. And that's where, I have the iPhone 14, like it takes amazing video. Like, you don't need a red camera or like these fancy cameras. Like, just shoot something like 4K if you can, and then put that together. I use Video Shop app to like put some like you don't need, iMovie can do it. But yeah, people are watching that just to see like, what do people look like? Like, do I fit into this, congregation?
Yeah, absolutely. So not just including like production service elements like worship and teaching, but also lobby footage and somebody greeting someone and kids ministry and groups, kind of the whole life of the church in 20 seconds.
Yeah. If you serve donuts and coffee, like, show it. Like, I was part of a church plant, and like they used to get the I don't know, one, the King Supers donated donuts every Sunday. I still remember that. I mean, it was like probably 10 years ago. Like, and my kids remember, like that was a church that had donuts. Like, show that. How are you different too? I think that's where, like, if you look like every other church video, like, yeah, how are you different than, like one church I work with, they meet in a cemetery. It's like really weird. But show like how you're different than every church out there.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Okay, so that's awesome. So that's kind of your header. You've got the video, you've got your tagline. Thinking through the rest of the flow of the homepage, what have you seen work really well?
Having one main call to action, which I would do plan a visit. I think plan a visit, especially if you're reaching first time people. And then that's kind of like your hook to educate them about who you are, what you believe, who you're not too. Like, hey, we're big on, we're going to go deep in the Bible. So yeah, we're going to have our header background video. We're going to have our headline, 2-3 sentences about us, and then plan a visit. And then after that, and we can give people like a Storybrand template for churches. Like we have a Storybrand kind of wireframe template, but hit on the pain point of like, why come to church? Yeah. It's especially if you're trying to reach new people, like they're not coming because they're checking a box off. They're coming because they're hurting. They're looking for community. As a parent of 4 kids, like I'm looking for a place to plug my kids into, so my wife and I can kind of like get a date night or like just a break. So really hit on the pain point. Like, hey, we live in a, it's hard. Like it's lonely out there. It's messy. But also I would spend some time just like drafting avatars. Like who are you trying to hit? Is it the non-believer? Is it the addict? Is it the mom? Is it the single dad? And then you can kind of tailor your copy to that. So yeah, definitely hit the pain point. And then we want to talk about the logistics. Hey, we meet every Sunday at 10 a.m. We have a Saturday service. Youth group is Wednesdays. So in a really short, maybe it's a 3-column row, like where are you located? Like proximity is huge, especially when you have kids. Like we had to change churches. We moved about 20 minutes away from our old church. Like we moved campuses, but we left a lot of people because we're at church 3-4 times a week. That's big if we're dropping kids off or whatever. So where's the location, service times, and then this is the one block I would hit your current attenders and have a link to events. Your events calendar is going to be huge, and then if you do small groups, which I think most churches are doing small groups, like find a small group.
Yeah, gotcha. They what do you think about the welcome from a pastor? I've seen that on a couple of sites. I've seen it on a couple of sites you've built, but kind of photo of the pastor and a really short blurb from them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that. This is that one block in, it's not about the pastor, but it's that personal, like in 2023, like we live in this AI digital space, but I think the most humanizing companies are winning. Mm-hmm. So make your pastor available to first-time guests.
Yeah,
I know it's asking a lot, but if I'm new to a church, like I want to connect with somebody, like and so that video can be just 20-30 seconds, but like, hey, we're so glad you're here. Here's a little bit about us. Like we'd love to connect with you. I like to so we talk about lead magnets and marketing. Like a lead magnet for a church could be a free coffee. It could be have a Bible on us, but have some sort of call to action. Like this is where I might do 2 calls to actions. So have like your plan a visit, and then next to it's like, hey, coffee on me. Especially if you have like a coffee shop in your church, like, hey, here's a $10 gift card. But that video this is where I think I've seen like 3-minute invite videos from pastors. Like it's too long, like 30, maybe 60 seconds tops. And then, so Storybrand has it's called onlinesalesscript.com. And it's a tool that Donald Miller made to like help you map out a sales script. But even using that to think about what are the pain points, what are the successes if you come, like if I'm addicted to something and like I can find recovery, like that's huge. If I'm looking for community and you guys have MOPS or moms groups, like, and I find community, like that could be a game changer for me. and my family. And so, yeah, what's in it for them with that video?
So you talked about the sales scripts, we talk about lead magnets, and I know there's a lot of churches that are in the boat of going, we're not marketing, we're not sales, I'm not interested in selling the gospel, and there's a resistance towards these kind of ways of thinking about church and websites from a marketing perspective. How would you speak into that or help churches navigate that? How do we think about marketing and sales and some of these frameworks?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've been doing this with churches for 10 years. And yeah, the term marketing, it would like leave a bad taste. Like, "Ah, don't use that. Use communications." Like, you're marketing. And I have a book, it's called Building a Family Brand. And the whole premise is that you have a brand. Like, whether you like it or not, like Rochelle Smith and the Smiths, like, you have a brand. There's in a brand is like what people think about you. So when I think about Rochelle Smith, there's certain things I think about, the qualities, good and bad. Like, people are thinking about those. And, we're talking about branding, like, you can control that. Not control, but like you can help affect that with not just a logo, but just like, what do you stand for? What does this church stand for? Like, one church I work with, they're really big into foster care. They have a ton of foster parent. Like, I'm a foster parent. Like, there's, so like, yeah, branding is kind of like, what was this church? What's the flag in the ground that we want to like help with? One of our churches, like 90% of people are in small groups. Like, they are big about going deep in the Bible. But then marketing, like, people are looking for hope. People are looking for help. Like, the whole idea with like Reach the Lost is we want to intercept those searches and get people to Jesus. So if someone's looking, someone around your church is looking for community, they're probably going to find a Facebook moms group or maybe like a meetup moms group. Like, why not find your moms group? Why not get people to Jesus? I think, Psychology Today, they dominate a lot of these like addiction searches. If we truly believe Jesus can solve this and the local church is the hope of the world, like, let's get them to the church. And so your church should be marketing. And people are finding your stuff, like, just, having some control over what they see and what they find.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just listening to Carey Nieuwhof doing an interview on his podcast with one of the guys behind the He Gets Us Super Bowl campaign, and they were talking about this like tension between like marketing and church and not sure how to think about that. And the guy was very blunt. He goes like, that gospel message, that Great Commission, like, go into all the world, that is a marketing message. That is about getting as many impressions as possible. And, how do we do it with the right motive and the right heart and the right care for the world? But that is not inherently a bad thing. But one of the things I think there's some tension around that I wanted to hit on also with the Storybrand thought with church websites is this feeling of, or this resistance towards making the reader the hero, and this feeling of, well, they're not the hero, Jesus is the hero. We're not the hero, Jesus is the hero. Jesus is always the hero. How do you help churches navigate through making the reader the hero and how that conflicts, or does it conflict with Jesus being the center?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've spent hours and hours talking through this. But in the Storybrand framework, the hero is one of the weakest people in the framework. Because, you think about Lord of the Rings, like Frodo, like, he's the hero, but that dude needs help. And so, positioning your church as the guide to help the hero. And I think, there's you got to think about it in the Storybrand framework and think about it as a believer. It's two different kind of frameworks, but in the Storybrand, like, we did a really big Christmas campaign looking to get single dads to churches, especially around the holidays. Like, a single parents, it's a lonely place to be. And so we ran some ads that really went after single dads, be the hero this Christmas. And one of our hooks was free family portraits. Like, hey, bring your kiddo. We're gonna have a professional photographer and get your picture with your kiddo. Like, I'm not a single dad, but that's probably not on my list of like things to do this Christmas, is like getting a professional family portrait. Yeah. But I want that. Like, I want that as a dad. And so, yeah, how can you make the single dad the hero? Just the fact you came shows courage. But yeah, in that framework, like you're the guide, the church is the guide, getting the hero, Don calls him the character, helping them out. Because if you don't help them out, like, there's success and failures. If we don't help them out, I mean, this is dark, but we live, I'm in El Paso County, like our suicide rate is through the roof. We're the home of Focus on the Family, Compassion, Navigators, and our suicide rate is the highest in the state. Like people are hurting, not just believers, but like people are hurting. Let's help them out. Let's get them to, this is cool too. Like we have a lot of churches who are spinning up counseling centers. This is a great place to like get people to a Christian counselor, get people to help through a biblical framework. And so yeah, using marketing to get them there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. Well, and the idea that, we were talking the other day as a team about how Jesus said, I came that you may have life and you would have it abundantly. Like that is inherently that's a sentence that's very focused on the hearer's need of that. I want more life and I want it more abundantly. And so I don't think that this Storybrand framework and the way that we position language is any different than what Jesus actually modeled throughout his ministry and meeting people's needs.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Tell me about kind of quick hitters. What are some of the big mistakes you most often see with church websites?
All right. This is my nerd alert part of this, but so I have an accounting degree. I went to Michigan State, go green, but not looking at your analytics. It's like flying blind. And it's like, well, we have Google Analytics installed. Like, cool. Like, where are people hanging out? What are they clicking on? What are they not clicking on? And even using a tool like hotjar.com, putting a visual heat map on your page, that'll help you. This is why I love data, because it's black and white. Like it tells the story of what people are doing. And even Hotjar, you can do like user recordings. It'll record users on your church website. And a lot of us, we think with our mouse. And so you'll see their mouse pointer, like kind of reading the headline. You'll see where they stop their scroll. But even like some big churches, I'm like, hey, how many sessions? Well, I guess, sessions are, users are unique users to your website, and sessions are unique times those users came to your website. But I'll ask them, like, how many sessions a month are you getting? They're like, I don't know. Time on site, like what are people doing? What are your most visited pages? What's your content strategy with that? And so I think the biggest mistake I see churches making is just not, they're like, oh yeah, we got that on there. And I hear a lot of, I feel like, or I think people are going here. It's like, stop, like go look at the data. Like what are people doing? You don't have to spend $1. Like Google Analytics is free. Hotjar is free, but go see what people are doing. And then we pitch all of our websites as permanent beta, like change things around, move things, change your call to action, change your copy. Don't be afraid to, like the bento box, like we usually design our websites in a bento box style where it's, things are in compartments, like drag them around. If you use like a WordPress or even like Subsplashes builders, like it's easy just to drag sections around, because what works for a different church may not work for your church, but you don't know that without seeing the analytics.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. What other mistakes do you see?
This is still in that data realm, but it's so I would challenge every church right now to go to kwfinder.com and then put in your city and then put in mom groups or addiction or suicide or divorce. That site, you get 3 searches per day for free, but it'll show you in your city how many searches per month are people looking for pornography. Like it kind of blows my mind how, anxiety, but like what searches are happening around your church that you aren't even seeing or answering. And then 90% of Google searches are questions looking for answers. Like just go answer the questions. So if someone's just looking for like, how do I deal with anxiety? Answer those. Hey, here's 7 ways you can deal with anxiety. Go for a walk, talk to somebody, exercise, stop drinking alcohol. Like How do you position your church? Like, just answer those questions. And then Google likes that when you're responding. This is where churches have a huge advantage over like Psychology Today. Is Google and Facebook are hyper local. They're going to show your results over some other bigger websites because people want to connect with people around them. Even like I'm in Colorado Springs. If I Google pizza places near me at my house, I'm not going to find the best pizza place in Colorado Springs. I'm going to find the best pizza place kind of in my area because Google knows I'm not going to drive 30 minutes away for a pizza. So one of our taglines is win your own backyard. Like, go to KW Finder, find the searches that are happening and go win those searches if it makes sense. Like, if you don't have a mom's group, like, don't go after moms looking for moms groups or like men's ministry. But yeah, own those searches. And this kind of ties into that. But utilize your Google business profile. It's free. It's easy. It's almost like it's free money that's sitting out there, but it's too easy that people just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But post events, post offers, post posts, and Google rewards those, especially if you're looking for those local searches.
Yeah, this is kind of bonus content outside of the website, but Reach the Lost helps a lot of churches with SEO, and that's one of our like 6 main things is build out the whole Google business profile and not just put your description in, but put all your ministries in there as products and post updates. We've seen it make huge differences in how often a church shows up for like a visiting searcher. Yeah, it happens all the time.
We can't talk about that without talking about the Google ad grant. Google is giving you $10,000 a month to like own those searches. And then Bing, the people actually still use Bing, the Bing, Microsoft's Bing. There's an extra $3,000 from Bing. Like, you could own the entire homepage when someone's searching for a church near me or small group near me or Easter service near me. You have all the tools for free to go and like own that first page, depending on your strategy. But yeah, I see a lot of churches. I think it's getting more and more popular where people are like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Or they're like, hey, we tried that. It didn't work.
Sure.
My response to that is like about 4 years ago, like, you used to be able to bid on any keyword with the Google ad grant. Like, I could bid on like Nike shoes and send people to the church homepage. And Google's like, hey, time out. Like, someone looking for Nike shoes going to your church homepage. Like, that's not relevant. And so they started putting these click-through rates, keyword restrictions. A lot of churches are like, oh my gosh, our grant got shut down. It's like, well, you weren't serving people around your area. And so, yeah, being smart about what Google ad grant campaigns, at minimum, make sure when people are searching for your church name, and there's a lot of churches who have the same name, like there's a First Baptist blank, like every city out there. There's a Journey Church almost in every town, like, but make sure you own your church name in your city, and then those churches near me, online church services, like own those. And then we call them felt needs searches, like the moms groups, the Bible studies, the Celebrate Recoveries, like, get those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Kind of our last big question is, what are like 5 things any church website should have? Some of these might be repeated from the homepage, but any church website should have to be prepared for a first-time visitor.
Yeah, this is kind of review, but it's the amazing headline. Test a few of those headlines, but just make sure it's amazing that you're like, I would put that on a t-shirt, maybe. One call to action.
Okay.
So, for me, it's plan a visit. Third is humanize it. And this is where I was at a conference last week and the guy said 80% of internet traffic is video. I was like, whoa. So humanize it with a video, even if it's just your iPhone, inviting someone to church, like, sweet, like, that stuff works. So yeah, humanize it. The next one is that video background. And then that personal invite from the pastor.
Yeah.
Like, I know pastors are busy, but even if you're a comm director, or if you're someone that works at the church, maybe write them a script and then just be like, hey, pastor, can you just 30 seconds? Can we just get you to do an invite for our church video, our our church homepage, especially when it's on the homepage. And then you can show the pastor like, hey, like, look how many people played this thing. And then look how many people click plan a visit. But those are 5 easy, and they're also free. Like, yep. I don't care how big your budget is. Like, you can do that today, and win.
Yeah, I love that. I'd also add some of that what to expect information. People want to make sure they know, is there something for my kids? Where do I park? What time is it? How long is the service going to be? Some of that basic what to expect information. Man, we look at so many websites every week, and the number of sites that I show up on that the homepage does not say a service time or a location, and I have to like dig through 4 pages to find that info. Yep. You're missing first-time visitors every week.
That's a good so I run a website called marketingchecklist.com, and we have marketingchecklist.com/church. We have like a church homepage checklist, because I've been to so many different church websites. In full disclosure, some were current clients, and I'm like, I can't find your address on this church website. That's why we made this checklist. It's like, hey, just follow this checklist with that.
Yeah, that's great. We'll link that down below on this page, and so everybody can grab that. And we also have some resources we talked about Google Business Profiles. We've got some of that for you. So lots of things to make websites easier. So thanks for having this conversation. How can people, if they're interested to hear more from you or get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I'm spending my days at marketingchecklist.com. It's kind of like I'm the nerd, the data geek. Like, I've been putting together checklists. I live off these checklists. Especially with churches, like, hey, just take these and just, if you're having an event, we have a church event checklist. You can go there and get any of this stuff there.
Great. Yeah. Make sure you check it out. Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike, so much for your time. We appreciate it. It's been a blessing, and it's a great resource for lots of churches. Yeah.
Thanks for all you do and all the team does for churches. It's cool to see God moving throughout the world and through these churches. And we're solving people's problems and getting people to Jesus. And we're seeing the results of that. One last bonus tip. Facts tell, stories sell. So we want to hear stories of transformation of people who've come to the church. So it's cool to hear from the pastor, the youth pastor, the women's director, but let me hear from the person, the single dad who was like, man, I came to blank church. I felt known, I felt heard, and I found community, I found connection. One of our churches has like 2 different videos of just like transformed live stories. So even put those out there, just, hey, look, here's a person in the community who is struggling with addiction. If you have Celebrate Recovery, like, tell that story, because that's all of our stories.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do a future episode at some point on storytelling, how to source more stories, how to find more of them in your church, and where to use them. We've found some really amazing things churches are doing, so keep a lookout for that.
Sweet.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for your time, Mike. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rochelle. Bye.